which is like the northern part of the country in the Amazon rainforest. Now, this area is not really a tourist destination. There's not really a whole lot that happens here. There is one thing that this area is known for, and that is this place is where Brazil nuts come from. Yeah. Bolivia is the #1 producer of Brazil nuts, and Riberalta is the largest area in Bolivia that produces it. You might think Brazil nuts are from Brazil. Brazil does produce Brazil nuts, but they don't produce as much as Bolivia does. Brazil has 40% of the production of Brazil nuts. Bolivia has 50%. So half of all the Brazil nuts that you eat come from Bolivia. That's quite a lot. The other 10% I think is Peru. The majority of the Bolivian Brazil nuts are from this area right here. So I went to a factory. I went on a tour just to find out how you get from the tree to the nut that we eat. So first let's start with the tree. The tree is gigantic. They're these huge trees that just tower over buildings. And they, I believe, can last as long as 500 years. In Brazil, it's actually illegal to cut down a Brazil nut tree. The fruit of the Brazil nut tree is actually a nuisance because these things are really big and heavy, and they can fall and they can crack your windshield, or they can hit you in the head and kill you. So they're fairly dangerous because they are falling from such a high height off that tree and come barreling down towards the earth. This is a fruit. It is not. It's not a true nut. It's got a very hard outer shell here, and when you cut this or you crack this open, the seeds are inside. Now, the pod itself, you see all over the place here in Bolivia. They make things out of it. I've seen ashtrays and little bowls, little pen holders and stuff like that. I think this is probably where the stem attached, and this is just the little hole in the bottom. And if you actually look in there, you can see some of the nuts in there. Maybe you can probably even hear them in there. And I think that these cracks here, especially around here, you see there's a circular crack. I think that is so that the seeds can get dispersed easily. I wanted to crack this pod open to show you the seeds inside, but I couldn't get into it. I wailed away at this thing for 10 minutes, and it just was not going to give. I think that maybe the one that I had dried out too much. Thankfully, I happened by a Brazil nut factory that had a pod that was already opened. These fruits, I was told, contain about 20 seeds each. Those seeds are removed by hand and then thrown into gigantic piles. The next step is that those nuts are then fed into machines that dry them out.
So all of these nuts get put in these dryers here, and then the finished product is right here. So these are all the dried nuts, after they've been through the dryer. And they said that you can eat the fresh ones before they're dried out, but they dry it out so it doesn't get any mold or bacteria in it. But it's just amazing. These are giant mountains of nuts.
Each one of the shells is removed with one of these medieval torture devices. If you really like Brazil nuts, but you hate how difficult it is to crack them open, then this is the nutcracker for you. Of course, if you wanted to shell an entire mountain's worth of Brazil nuts, you would need more than just a little help.
This is the nut cracking room. So this is all done by hand. This is unbelievable to look at. Oh my God. there's like hundreds of people just manually cracking nuts like one by one. Just crack it, put the shell in one bucket there, and the good nuts go in there. Pretty simple. This girl here just got yelled at for using her smartphone on the job. Yeah, this is amazing. All the shells here are getting thrown into the furnace here. He's just like disposing of all the nut shells now. They're sorting the nuts here, getting rid of all the bad ones. So they're just going through looking for any imperfections. Oh, okay. So that one has like a worm in it.
Chia.
Yeah.
Punto chia.
So there's a worm in it. It goes into the blue bucket. Simple enough. Good ones go in there. Some pretty good odds there. There's only a few bad ones in the whole lot. But they sort really fast. Oh, and she's actually going through the bucket of bad ones and cutting out the bad part. That's why there's nothing in that bucket. She's cutting the ones that have like a worm, so she's cutting the worm out of them, or like the bad part out of it. Interesting. Nothing goes to waste. So the nut hopper. There's the nut conveyor belt. So when it goes down this belt, the tiniest ones fall through the small holes, and then the holes get larger, so they're getting separated out by size. And only the biggest ones go in this bucket here. These are like the alpha male nuts right here. These are the top of the top. This is a very warm room where they're dehydrating the nuts again. They dry the shell nuts, then they separate them, and then they dry the shelled nuts. So this one is completely ready. That was really good. They're still warm too. And there's like so much flavor. These are the best Brazil nuts I've ever had. They're like nutty, they're creamy, they're like buttery. They taste like a little bit like macadamia nuts. And they got like a nice nuttiness to it. Oh, that's so good. Not like a huge fan of Brazil nuts, but if they all tasted like this, I'd be eating them constantly. That's really, really tasty. So here's giant, like, wholesale size boxes. Midget, yeah, using a politically incorrect word for it, but that is okay. Packed up, sealed with this machine here, and sent off. So they're just packing up the boxes here, and then they separate them into sides. This is tiny. These, I think, are the next step up, and they go on from there. It's like a little labyrinth of nut boxes. Medium,
large,
and large. So there's 4 sizes of nuts. Alright, back into the outside world.
And that, my friends, is where Brazil nuts come from. I really hope that you enjoyed this rare glimpse into how the largest kernel of deliciousness ends up inside your can of mixed nuts. Thanks for watching. Okay, I only have 1 minute, so I have to make this fast. Guys, click the like button if you enjoyed this video. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Click that bell. I don't know what the bell does, but it probably gives an angel its wings, so click on it. That dislike button, don't click that one. Go to the comments, leave a comment if you have something to say. Go to this description, because in the description there is a link to my Patreon page where you can help contribute to my channel and make it grow. There's also a link to my website where you can see a backlog of videos, more information, and also you can buy a t-shirt at my website now. I want to give a special shout out to the channel Smarter Every Day. Smarter Every Day is a mega contributor on Patreon. They're really helping me out. If you like what I'm doing with Fruit, check out his channel because it basically covers everything involving science. It's really interesting. Also around now there should be a couple of videos right here. These are the videos to my next week's episode if it's up, and last week's episode where you can check that out. I still have 3 seconds, guys, so thank you so much. Bye-bye.